I got a question for you. This is going to be a weird way to start off a podcast, but what do you guys think about people who believe that the earth is flat? Weird way. You're like, I thought we talked about like compulsive behavior, Luke, or betrayal, but I got something I want to talk to you about today and see what you think about it. And it isn't necessarily whether the earth is flat or not, but what do you guys think about people that believe that the earth is flat? Well, that's what we're going to get into today is something around that.
Welcome to Beyond the Facade podcast. I'm your host, Luke Gordon, and I'm thrilled to have you join me in this space today. What we're going to be doing is diving deep into the trials and triumphs and truths of seeking authenticity. Becoming your true self isn't about a single action or moment. It's a relentless pursuit, a commitment to self that reveals the rich connection and meaning that our life has to offer. So whether this is your first time tuning in or you're a regular listener, know this: what you're building here goes beyond a conversation. You're here to challenge, to change, and to celebrate the incredible journey of becoming your authentic self. Because when you dare to show up fully, the rewards are immeasurable. So welcome to Beyond the Facade. Let's get started.
Okay, everybody. Someday this analogy is going to come back to bite me, but we'll just play with it for now. The question I ask you is, what do you guys think about people that believe the earth is flat? So the earth isn't flat. At least I don't think it is. But to people that believe it is, it feels absolutely real. Okay. But how can that feel so real? And I recognize I'm just going to say this as an asterisk. There's a decent amount of people that there's a percentage of people that do believe that the earth is flat. So I'm not trying to get into whether it is or not, but I want to bring something up for you to noodle on and think about. People that do believe it is because they built their whole world around that belief. You can look at YouTube videos on it. You can watch videos. There's communities around this. There's articles. And they have more than believed it because they've reinforced it and they've found evidence that works for them. And then they're able to form a belief around that. So that's how beliefs work. They don't have to be true to shape your life, right? They just have to be reinforced, and we have to find evidence for that, evidence that works for us. And that's what we're going to explore today, how your beliefs have shaped you and how you begin to rewrite them. Because what I noticed in my own journey is holy crap, the reason why I'm here where I'm at today is because of what I believe. Because I believe I am unworthy, that if people really knew about what I was doing, they wouldn't love me. So that was my belief, and I shaped my world around it. And I found evidence to back that up. I think particularly what my partner would say, I would listen to the words that she would say that provided evidence of, see, she won't accept me if I give her real. There was also a lot of evidence that wasn't true, but that's not what my belief is about. So let me give you some key points here. So a belief system, and let's just define it. A belief system is a set of ideas that you accept as true. So it's unconscious, but it's incredibly powerful. And beliefs come from interpretations, not necessarily truth. So they're emotional conclusions drawn out of painful experiences, not rational fact. If you had the really unfortunate experience of one of your parents leaving or some separation, so if your dad left, the belief might become, if I were lovable, he would have stayed. You didn't choose that belief. It was formed as your brain tried to make sense of the pain that you experienced through a parent leaving. So that's heavy, right? The belief system was formed trying to make sense of it as a little person. So we want to just recognize that trauma and the birth of beliefs are tied together. So let's just introduce this sequence, okay? We have an experience, there's an interpretation of that experience, there's emotion, and that leads to a belief, okay? Experience, interpretation, emotion, belief. My experience was as I was bullied in middle school. My interpretation of that is I'm weak and I don't belong. The emotion I experience is shame. And now my belief is I'm unworthy and unsafe. So I need to show up ways that are going to make me more worthy and more safe. I got to be worthy to feel safe. So we'll dive into that. But most of your deepest beliefs were born in a moment when you were trying to survive. So you're going through life, especially as a little person, growing up, and you were trying to make it through this experience, and you believed, and you weren't thinking clearly, and if you would step back and examine those experiences, you'll notice that they're running your life today what was formed earlier through experiences. So what you might have adopted as a little guy really is running your life no matter how old you are. If you're 34, 44, 54, 64, 74, that belief system is just, it's everything, right? I want to go back to some previous podcasts we've had before on what we call the addictive system. We've been going through this a lot in group lately in some of our groups, which is let's explore what the addictive system is, because a lot of us are here because we cheated on our partner or we got caught acting outside of our values, but that's not the problem. The problem wasn't that I was looking at porn. The problem wasn't that I cheated on my partner. Yes, that is a problem, but it's not the actual root of what we're experiencing. So here's the addictive system in play, and last to do with beliefs is there's a shame-based belief system, okay? So I'm not enough. No one will love me. There's a belief about myself. That belief is fueled or followed, I guess I should say, by impaired thinking. Okay, so if it's I'm not enough, no one will love me, there has to be some impaired thinking behind it. So I'm going to always be this way. I need this to survive, this thing that helps me feel like I'm enough. That belief system, and I feel like I really need to elaborate more on what the impaired thinking is. But again, if the belief system is I'm not enough, the impaired thinking is in order for me to feel like I'm enough, I need to go find somebody that tells me I am. And I need to show up in a way that helps them see that I'm enough. I need to get that validation. That's all the impaired thinking that fuels that belief system. Okay. That leads into the addiction cycle, which is the preoccupation. That's the ruminating thoughts of I'm feeling like the sense of worthlessness. What can I do? The ritualization, which is the process that I fall into to feel validated, to the acting out itself, to betraying myself through some type of acting out that's outside of my values, to the ultimately is fueled by that belief system, which turns into shame and despair, which leads to unmanageability, which is after I'm in that addictive cycle, when it's no longer working, I can't get my needs met, even if it's through acting out. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, my life's so unmanageable. That now reinforces the belief system that I'm not enough. See, after all this stuff, just reinforces what I believe. Okay. So this system, it's self-reinforcing. So the core problem isn't the behavior itself. We talk about it all the time. Porn isn't the problem. To break the cycle, you have to challenge the first layer. You have to challenge your belief system. Okay, that's the first part. You can't change anything else until you recognize and start to learn and know what the belief system is. I'm just going to give you some, just kind of visually put this on a whiteboard for yourself. Actually, like I could give you a handout. I'll give you these 4 pieces, which are typically very, very common parts of sexual compulsive behavior, sexually acting out when there's hiding and secrecy. First one is I am bad and unworthy. That's a belief system. I'm going to give you 4 things that are very common in this world. Okay, first one, I am a bad and unworthy person. Wrote that up on the whiteboard. The second one I'd write down is if people really knew me, they wouldn't love me. That's a common belief. The next one is I must meet my own needs. No one else will. I can't rely on other people, which is kind of like I need to just try harder to figure this out. I've just got to do better. I got to meet those own needs. I'm going to find this inside of me. Remember, these are faulty core beliefs. Number 4, I'm right up on this not real whiteboard, which is sex is my most important need. Without it, I'll die. That sounds exaggerated, and replace sex with whatever it is that you were hiding or was compulsive. There was so much risk around. It's my most important need. Without it, I'll die. And if you're like, I really don't buy off on that, Luke, that's fine. I get it. Just notice the risk associated with it. How much you said, I won't do this anymore, or hated yourself because you did it and you went back to it anyway. Okay. So those are the beliefs, right? Those are some common beliefs, but we can replace them with anything, any belief that we want to. We're just going to notice what it gives us. So which of these has felt true for you at some point? Which of those really resonated? Grab one of them. So those beliefs, as we go through the rest of this, these beliefs they're the engine of this addictive system. So every time you act out, the shame is going to reinforce them. So what we want to do is we want to start to map out our old beliefs. Okay. So identify one core belief that you hold. Grab one, identify what that core belief is. I'm not enough. And then what we want to do, and we might be able to do this on our own, but most likely we're going to need somebody else, therapist, coach, group, but really somebody that's really can guide us through this. But where did that come from? Where did that belief exist? When did it first grab a hold of me? And what was the experience that planted it? Right? If I go back to it, what was it? And what has this belief cost you? So let's just map it out. Let me give you those again. Like there's this whiteboard that you could go through. Identify one of those core beliefs. The second thing is where do you think it came from? The third one is what was the experience that planted it? And the fourth one is what has this belief cost you? What we believe is what we reinforce. Your brain is wired to confirm what it already believes. So it's just going to cement that bugger. This is called confirmation bias. You will always find proof for what you already think is true. That's all we need is we just need evidence. Like when I drive down the road, that guy cuts me off and I think something in my head, I believe something about that situation and I find something to reinforce it. And I drive next to him and I look at him and sure enough, guess what? I think I can see is he's on his phone. So what I believe is I just found something that reinforces like, he's a jerk. Like he's an unsafe person. Like he doesn't care about anybody else. I find evidence to back that up, what I believe. Is it true? Accurate? Yeah, probably not. Not the exact way I think it is. Here's another exercise that I'd invite you to do. Choose the one belief that you identified earlier. I want you to ask, is this objectively true? Who gave that to me? Do I want to keep it? Then we get a chance to go, obviously, often, no, I should probably say, it's a resounding no. What I believe is that I'm a bad guy. Who gave that to me? I recognize that through countless experiences starting as a teenager of me being told that my behavior is bad and going back to it again and again and again. And I started to believe that I'm a bad guy then. Do I want to keep it? Hell no. Okay. So if we're not going to keep it, that can sound like a big deal. How do I get rid of that? So it's a vacuum. If you just leave that hole, something's going to fall in its place, right? It's impossible to leave it just empty with nothing to replace it with. There's a new belief there, which is if it's I'm not worthy, maybe the new belief is I'm growing and I'm healing, or I am worthy for whatever reason is. So identify ways to reinforce that belief. Write it down, put it in different places, put it on your mirror in your bathroom, put it on your wall in your closet where you get dressed, put it next to your bed, put it in your wallet, put it at work next to a screen on your computer where you can see it because we're going to reinforce it. What am I going to say to myself? Maybe the old belief is I can't depend on anyone. My new belief is I'm learning to let other people support me. I'm learning to let other guys in. And then you reinforce that by going about it and finding new ways, by asking group members to check in through the week, journaling how you actually are connecting with other people, saying each morning, connection is safe. And that will be the new evidence that, oh, there's a new belief in place. It doesn't change without evidence. It doesn't change without things to back it up. Remember, we get to choose what we believe. My invitation to you today is to just reflect on what stood out to you today when you think about beliefs. How much are you even aware that faulty beliefs are the root of behavior that is outside my values? So it shapes it. Beliefs shape your behavior. And it's the most powerful thing you can change. The most powerful thing that you can change is what you believe. Because when you change that, you can change everything downstream of that. You can't change anything upstream. You can't change behavior without changing beliefs. You were handed a belief system, but today you get to choose a new one, right? And you get to start to implement something new. So anyway, it's good to spend time with you.
I'd love to share with you what's upcoming, and we have something really unique coming up in June. So for those of you who are in a healing profession who is helping take care of other people, therapists, coaches especially, but even if you're a nurse working in the medical field, if you spend your time catering to everyone else and holding their pain and helping them through their hard, we have an intensive just for you. This is called Heal the Healer, and a Oh, well, I love all my intensives, but this one holds such a special place in my heart because in Heal the Healer, it's where the healer gets to come and for a moment set everything down and let you be taken care of. And this isn't where you're going to come do a ton of workshops and lots of learning and have to stretch your brain. It's just where you get to come relax. You get to kick your feet up and have other professionals there ready to take care of you and cater to you. We have a gorgeous lodge house resort property that's all ours that has pools and saunas and ponds and paths and trails, and it's tucked in the Wasatch Mountains. We have a gorgeous place to stay. All of your meals are included. Activities are included. There'll be time for fun if you want to participate in that, and also time for downtime and rest. And best of all, you get that connection with other strong women who are holding it all together for somebody else and who are ready to be taken care of. So invest in you. Take care of you. We would love to have you there. I would love to hang out with you, and come with us in June to Heal the Healer.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. If this is something that you connected with, I'd love to meet with you more and talk about it. So what you can do is go to chooserecoveryservices.com or check the show notes. And there what we can do is set up a quick conversation to meet. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Facade, where we unmask the authentic self.